Welcome to Live Interactive English. Hello everyone, I'm Mike.
And I am Rainbow.
And today it's our story unit for the month. Of course, we have a 2-day story for you guys, and it is a classic.
A legend.
This is a very, very famous old story written by Washington Irving a couple hundred years ago at least. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is the name of the story. You might also know it as the story or the legend of Ichabod Crane.
I do not know this story.
You don't know
sounds
this one?
Creepy.
They used to use this a lot around Halloween, around this time of year. It's a spooky ghost story, so it's not too scary. I remember a lot of times in children's cartoons, they would have a mystery where they end up in a small village, a small sleepy or quiet village in the country, and then all of a sudden, and this is the cool picture that you remember from movies and cartoons, there's a guy on a horse riding through the dark night. He's wearing all black. There's fog and it's very scary, and he's got no head. The headless horseman is riding along the dark country lanes, scaring the willies out of everyone, especially around Halloween. And I think there's another part where his head is like a pumpkin, kind of like a jack-o'-lantern, like you might see around Halloween.
I've seen this character, like as a character in Halloween, just hanging there without a head.
Cartoons of it. There was a Johnny Depp movie that's actually quite good if you want to watch that. It's not a new movie from 10, 20 years ago, but called, I think, Sleepy Hollow. That's a good one to watch. And of course, it's also just a classic story from early American literature. So let's read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Let's meet Ichabod Crane, and let's try not to scream in terror. Ah! Here we go. Sleepy Hollow is a quiet little town in the state of New York. This old village is not short of strange tales from its long history. The most famous of these relates to the Headless Horseman, the ghost of a soldier who lost his head during a battle. Now he rides through the night on his horse in search of his missing head, though he never rides over the local bridge by the church. All right, so let's get into The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Part 1. But first, there's a word in that title we should probably explain a little bit.
This word is hollow. A hollow is like a hole in the ground when the surface goes downwards. So this is very natural. It happens in some places. You might not see this in the city, but out somewhere far, far away, I guess there would be a lot of hollows in the ground. It's not a huge hole. You wouldn't fall into it, but the ground goes in and you can sit there and it sounds kind of dangerous, actually.
Yeah, often when the ground is sort of rolling like that in the countryside where you are, it might go down. There might be trees around it so you can't actually see in, but it's just a place where the ground goes down a little bit, dips down, and then comes back up. It says we sat, where did we sit?
We sat in a hollow near a tree.
Ah, okay, a good place to sit.
So far, so good.
Yeah, unless it's raining, because then, of course, the hollow would get a lot of water running into it. But yes, if you're avoiding the wind, it might be a good place to sit. It's just the name of a quiet little town, and I think that's how our story begins.
Sleepy Hollow is a quiet little town in the state of New York.
There you go. All right.
This old village is not short of strange tales from its long history.
Very interesting.
It's a little bit creepy already.
It does. So, of course, we're in the northeastern part of America, in the state of New York. So we're not talking about the big city of New York. No, New York City is in New York State. So that's why we'd actually say New York, New York. Right? So this is a small town. Now, the countryside in New York State, what locals would call upstate New York, is much different from the big city. We're talking farms and forests, beautiful little villages and towns, lovely covered bridges, and a place that when the fall comes and the leaves change and fall from the trees, the weather gets colder, the nights get longer and darker. It can be a little bit spooky and scary if you're walking around at night in that part of the world around this time of the year. So don't think of the big bright lights of Manhattan. Think of a spooky sort of small town and village
in the middle of nowhere.
You might not even hear or see people around you, and there could be ghosts in any hollow or behind any tree. So this is where we are. The most famous of these famous stories and legends and stuff, the most famous of these relates to the headless horseman. A guy on a horse with no head. And you're saying, how do you know where you're going? And I say, that's a really good question. I don't know. Anyways, of course, this is not normal. It's not really possible to ride a horse without a head because you'd be dead. But if you're a ghost, it's totally fine. So the headless horseman, the ghost of a soldier who lost his head during a battle. And I believe in the story, it was a battle of the American Revolution. So we're talking the time of George Washington, 1776, and all that. So when we relate something, or when something is related, it's linked, it's joined, there is a connection there. It could be very closely related or more distantly related, but there is a connection. If I meet you today and I've lived in this part of the world and you're from that part of the world, there's no way we can relate. We are not related to each other. But if I find out, oh, your cousin is my cousin, then we're related through family. You could also be related through things that you've done, schools you've gone to, places you've traveled. If you have a connection to something, if there's a link, if we can take these two different things and say, actually, there's something that joins them together, then we are talking about how they are related. The rise in cancer is related to the increased amount of chemicals in the air. So more chemicals in the air, does that actually affect cancer rates? Yes, it does. Those things are related.
Now he, the headless horseman, rides through the night on his horse in search of his missing head. Oh, goodness. Though he never rides over the local bridge by the church.
He avoids the church. Very interesting. But I have to say, if I lost my head, I might go around looking for it.
Yeah, you'd be on a search.
Like
in this case, search is a noun. Well, when we use search as a verb, it's we're looking for something that has been lost or we want to find it. A search as a verb is the action, the thing, the project. We are on a search. We have a mission to do. That is, we are trying to find our head. After our dog ran away, we went out in search of her. So the project, the thing we're doing right now is we are going on a search to find our dog. Okay, let's take a quick break and then we'll find out more about what happened to him, where is his head, why is the story scary. We'll be back soon.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这次要读的故事是《The Legend of Sleepy Hollow》沉睡谷传奇。标题里面用到 hollow 这个单字，它当名词表示山谷或者是洞啊、坑，那么可以当形容词去表达空的或是空心的。好，那故事一开始提到沉睡谷是位于纽约州的一个宁静小镇。那这个古老的村落，在它悠久的历史当中不乏怪谈，其中最著名的故事是跟无头骑士有关。那是一名在战斗中失去头颅的士兵的鬼魂。那如今他彻夜的骑马寻找他遗失的头颅，不过呢，他从来没有骑马跨过教堂旁边的那座桥。我们来看单字 relate。Relate 这个动词表示相关、有关联，我们可以用 relate to 加上名词，或者是用 be related to 加名词去表达与什么有关。再看到 search 当名词表示寻找、搜寻，我们可以用片语 in search of 加名词去表达寻找、寻求什么什么。那补充一下 Mike 老师刚刚在讲到纽约州的时候，他有提到 upstate。好，那这就是由 state 前面加上 up， 那这个形容词可以形容州的最北地区的，或者是州最偏远地区的。老师们还有用到两个形容词来描述这个故事，一个是 spooky。S-P-O-O-K-Y Spooky 可以形容阴森可怕的，令人毛骨悚然的。还有提到 creepy C-R-E-E-P-Y 那这个字也可以形容是令人毛骨悚然的。好，这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。 好，这边我们来学习 be short of something， 这是表达缺乏、缺少什么什么。形容词 short 在这边就是指短缺的、不足的。那如果加上 not，be not short of something， 则是表达不缺什么什么。举例来说 ，The students are not short of creative ideas。那些学生不缺创意点子。好，接话课文中。
Many years ago, a teacher who was called Ichabod Crane moved to Sleepy Hollow from Connecticut. Ichabod soon took a liking to Katrina Van Tassel, the daughter of the richest man in town. He wooed her for weeks and hoped to marry into her wealthy family. However, a popular local man who was named Brom Bones also had his eye on Katrina. So Brom started playing pranks on Ichabod, such as breaking into his school at night and making a mess. Then, at a party, Brom told the teacher that he had seen the horseman many times. Okay, so we know about Sleepy Hollow, and we know that this small, quiet little village is being sort of scared and frightened and terrorized by the headless horseman who rides around looking for his head, but he doesn't ride past the church. Probably because the power of God in the church, it scares this ghost or something like that. So let's see what happens next. It says, many years ago, a teacher who was called Ichabod Crane moved to Sleepy Hollow from Connecticut. All right, so this guy has an interesting name for sure, Ichabod Crane, remember that name. But he's just a normal guy. He's a guy with an education. He's a teacher, so, you know, he knows about the world. And he's traveled from Connecticut, which is very close by, to New York. He's traveled to the town of Sleepy Hollow in New York, maybe to be the school teacher or something like that. All right, so a normal guy moving to a very not normal town. So let's find out what happens. Ichabod soon took a liking, to Katrina Van Tassel, the daughter of the richest man in town. Not only is she rich, she's really pretty. And Ichabod Crane is like, wow, that Katrina Van Tassel, she's a really good-looking lady. I'd like to take her on a date and marry her. And that sounds lovely. Will this work? And what does it have to do with the headless horseman? So let's find out. He wooed her for weeks, good word, and hoped to marry her into her wealthy family. So yes, he really liked her. Maybe we could even say he was falling in love with her. And then he wooed her. When you take a lovely lady or a lovely man or whoever you happen to like, and you're dating them and you're impressing them, you're buying them gifts, you're writing them love notes, you're trying to attract them and make you think that, wow, that guy, that girl, that person who likes me is really great, and I like them, and we're in love, and this is so nice. Then you are wooing that person. You're trying to sort of show off and make them like you and do nice things to show you care about them. The whole process of dating someone and trying to charm them so that they marry you or whatever, that is to woo. It's kind of an old-fashioned word, but it's still what you do when you take someone out on a nice date and buy them dinner and, you know, do all that nice stuff. And then hopefully you will marry them. And that would be really great if they were rich too, like Katrina Van Tassel's family. They're rich as well.
However, a popular local man who is named Brom Bones, we have our third character, also had his eye on Katrina.
Competition.
Two people fighting. So Brom started playing pranks on Ichabod, such as breaking into his school at night and making a mess.
What a rascal.
Then, at a party, Brom told the teacher that he had seen the horseman many times. So remember, this horseman is this guy without a head.
The headless horseman, the ghost horseman. I think Brom is trying to scare Ichabod so he might move out of town and leave Brom to woo Katrina. Because it sounds like Katrina would probably like Ichabod more. He's a gentleman. Brom sounds like a bit of a bully. He's breaking into the school. He's making a mess, which is not a nice thing to do.
It's terrible.
A mess is a very dirty situation. You go into somewhere and you kind of throw things
ruin
around.
Everything.
You don't put things away. You're not being neat and tidy. You're being kind of crazy and dirty and messy. So that stuff that's left over, maybe you've made a big meal in the kitchen and now there's dirty pots and pans and a whole bunch of stuff to clean and wash up. That's a mess. If you're a teenager and you leave your shirt and your clothes and your books and all your other stuff on the floor in your room, you might say, your mom not going out of this house to play with your friends unless you clean up this mess. So that's what we mean. It's kind of a dirty, crazy, unorganized situation. It might not actually be dirty. It just means that things are not
messy.
Where they should be. Things are not organized. Things are not put away. So clean up the mess in your room and then you can watch TV or play video games or whatever. For example, the baby threw his food around the room and made a mess everywhere. Yeah, babies are good at
Babies do that.
That's all they do.
They're very good at making messes.
They make messes in the kitchen.
They love it.
They make messes in their diapers. They make messes. That's what they do. All right, we're going to be back tomorrow with more from Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman, Ichabod Crane, and all sorts of wonderful stuff.
Back.
Until then, don't lose your head. We'll see you soon.
Mike 老师刚刚在讲到可怕的无头骑士时，他用到 terrorize 这个动词 terrorize。terrorize 这个动词表示使极为惊恐或者是恐吓威胁。那我们继续来看看故事。许多年前，有一位老师从康乃狄克州搬到沉睡谷，他的名字是 Ichabod。那他很快就喜欢上那个城镇的首富的女儿 Katrina， 并追求她好几个星期，希望娶她，然后晋升这个富裕的家庭。不过有一个在当地蛮受欢迎的男子 Brom， 他也看上了 Katrina。Brom 就开始对 Ichabod 恶作剧，像是在晚上闯入他的学校，把东西弄得乱七八糟。然后后来还有在一场宴会上面，他告诉 Ichabod 说他已经见过无头骑士很多次了。这个人好像听起来有一点坏。那么 Mike 老师刚刚用到 rascal 这个字 ，R-A-S-C-A-L。rascal 它可以指淘气鬼啊、捣蛋鬼或者是无赖的意思。老师还有用到 bully，B-U-L-L-Y，bully 就可以指霸凌者。那么课文单字 mess。mess 是名词，它表示脏乱、凌乱或是混乱。Make a mess 表达说弄得乱七八糟。那它的形容词 messy 在后面加个 y， 那可以形容是杂乱的、凌乱的或是弄脏的。那这边3个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 take a liking to 加上名词或动名词，这是表达开始喜欢上某人事物，这个语气是比较正式的。那么其中的名词 liking 它表示喜欢、爱好。举例来说 I took a liking to the song when I first heard it 我第一次听到这首歌就喜欢上了。第二个重点是 have one's eye on somebody or something 这是表达看上、看中什么什么，想要获得或拥有什么什么。举例来说 He's had his eye on the car for a while 他想要那台车已经好一阵子了。第3个重点是过去完成式 had 加上 PP， 这是用在表示在过去的某个时间点或某个动作之前已经完成的经验或是动作，那可以搭配过去简单式，用来指过去2个动作的先后顺序。先发生的我们要用过去完成式，那后发生的要用过去简单式。举例来说 Gina had read the book before she saw the movie. Gina 在看那部电影之前已经看过书了。那这里的动作顺序是先看过书，我们用过去完成式 had read， 然后才看的电影，所以是用过去简单式 saw 表达。好，那么以上这节讲解，同学们别走开，马上回来哦。
Sleepy Hollow is a quiet little town in the state of New York. This old village is not short of strange tales from its long history. The most famous of these relates to the Headless Horseman, the ghost of a soldier who lost his head during a battle. Now he rides through the night on his horse in search of his missing head, though he never rides over the local bridge by the church. Many years ago, a teacher who was called Ichabod Crane moved to Sleepy Hollow from Connecticut. Ichabod soon took a liking to Katrina Van Tassel, the daughter of the richest man in town. He wooed her for weeks and hoped to marry into her wealthy family. However, a popular local man who was named Brom Bones also had his eye on Katrina. So Brom started playing pranks on Ichabod, such as breaking into his school at night and making a mess. Then, at a party, Brom told the teacher that he had seen the horseman many times.
Hey, it's Kiwi on the street. I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie. Wow, this guy, he's really lost in his book.
Lost in his book? What do you mean? He's right here.
Oh, no, that means he's really into his book. He's really concentrating.
Oh, so it's another one of those phrases.
Exactly.
Let's work on some new phrases.
Let's work on today's phrases. Our first one,
负债 and 亏损.
so in the black or in the red?
I think in the red.
In the red, okay.
In the black.
In the black.
In the red.
In the black. In the black.
In the black? Okay, well, I'm sorry. It's in the red.
死状凄惨.
Die like a dog. Maybe die like a dog.
Die like a dog. Die like a dog.
Like a cat. Die like a dog.
Die like a dog. You said that with confidence because you are correct. Die like a dog. Ding, ding, ding. What did we learn today?
Today we learned some new phrases, and the first one is in the red. And it means that you are spending more money than you're earning, or that you owe money. This phrase comes from accounting or bookkeeping, which is when you keep track of how money is coming in or out, if you're making money or if you're losing money. So for a long time, bookkeepers, they will write in red ink to signify when money is being spent or there's a loss. And that's how the phrase in the red came to be. Meanwhile, the opposite, when you're making money, it's written in black ink. So when you're making money, you can say in the black. Our next phrase is die like a dog. It means to die in a manner that is very unpleasant, humiliating, or embarrassing. It is when something dies in a very horrible way, sometimes shameful, painful, and miserable. It's the worst way to die. And those are the phrases that we learned today. Kiwi later!